Hi everyone, my name is Monique.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And today we're going to be previewing the newest expansion for Hidden Leaders that is currently on Kickstarter called Forgotten Legends.
This game's designed by Andreas and Markus Müller, as well as Raphael Stocker, and it's published by BFF Games, who are helping sponsor this video. And in Hidden Leaders, it's basically a game of hidden roles as well as social deduction. We're going to be playing cards to your tableau to try to make your leader win at the end of the game. We're going to primarily focus on the expansion today. If you are interested in the base game, we made a video of it earlier, which you can always check out up here in the corner.
Now this expansion includes 3 new modules which you can incorporate into the base game together or separately. We have Guardians, which introduces a new faction, 4 new leaders, and 20 new hero cards. We have Corruption, that introduces new corruption tokens that can alter the course of the game. And lastly, the Artifacts module, which gives each player a unique artifact with an ability that they can use 2 to 3 times during the game.
But before we begin, we do have to mention that any of the expansion content is considered prototype at this point. This also includes some of the rules. They may change in the future. So if you are interested in the campaign, there's a link in the description down below, which you can check out at your leisure.
And with that, we are ready to begin, starting with the Guardian module. This module introduces a new faction called the Guardians, along with 4 new leader cards. During setup, you randomly shuffle in 2 of the new leader cards with the 6 base game leader cards, and then randomly deal 1 to each player. Guardian leaders have 2 factions that they are associated with, 1 base game faction and 1 Guardian faction, and players with this type of leader can win with either type of victory. In addition, there are 20 new Guardian hero cards that are shuffled into the deck. These cards have the Guardian icon on them, and they work exactly like regular hero cards, with 2 exceptions. At the start of the game, the Guardian token starts on space 1 of the power track. Each time a Guardian hero ability is performed, the token moves up 2 spaces on the power track. And these new hero abilities will range widely, similar to the base game abilities, with the exception that certain cards will specifically affect Guardian cards. There's also the Mother of Guardians card that says, at game end, this card counts as +1 revealed hero for the winning faction for every 2 Guardians you control. Now the other thing is, anytime a Guardian hero is buried into the graveyard, the active player gets to draw 2 cards from the Guardian Fate deck. And this is going to determine what happens on the power track. And so if I were the active player and I drew these 2 cards, then I would get to choose between the 2 of them which one to resolve. So maybe if I have a Guardian faction leader, I may choose this one because it's only going to decrease the token by 1. Then the Fate deck gets reshuffled so that each time there's always the same random chance. And it's important to note that in addition to decreasing the Guardian token on the power track, there's also 1 for red and 1 for green.
Right. If at the end of the game, the Guardian token is ahead of both the red and the green, the Guardians win and you resolve ties just like the base game.
And you always check for a Guardian victory first, which means Guardian victories take priority. Now, if there's a Guardian victory but no Guardians are in play, then you just proceed evaluating the endgame scoring just like in the base game rules. Now remember, players with Guardian leaders have 2 different factions they're aligned with, but again, the Guardian victory always takes precedence. Next, we have the Corruption module, which introduces these game-changing corruption tokens that players can assign to individual heroes. This module comes with these new corruption tokens that are going to be mainly placed in a bag that do things like changing a hero's faction assignment or protect certain heroes from getting buried into the graveyard.
Right.
Now at the start of the game, the Claim Corruption card will be visible depending on player count. So here we have it set up for a 2 to 5 player game. On this card, there are 2 different objectives that a player needs to meet in order to claim corruption. The first one is having 3 visible heroes in your party, and the second one is having 5 visible heroes. As soon as a player has met either objective, then that player gets to claim the corruption token on that objective, and all players, including the active player, get to draw a corruption token from the bag. Just want to note that these corruption tokens are definitely prototype. The back of the token are all going to have a corruption symbol on them, not 2 symbols.
Right.
Then, in turn order, all players will place their corrupted token face down on a hero that doesn't already have one. And now that hero is considered corrupted.
Let's go ahead and corrupt this one.
All right, and I'll place my second one on my own hero. It's important to note that corruption tokens will stay face down until the end of the game, but you're always allowed to look at corruption tokens on top of heroes that are in your own party. If an ability allows you to look at a player's face down hero and that hero is corrupted, you may not look at the corruption token. And corruption tokens are always assigned to the hero, which means if the hero is ever exchanged or buried, then the corruption token goes along with it. Now, like we were mentioning earlier, there are 2 main effects that these corruption tokens will have on the various leaders.
The first of which is it just changes the faction. So now this green is now a red. Now, of course, this is just an example. This would only be revealed at the very end of the game, so this is going to go back face down.
And by the way, there's a corruption token for each of the 4 base game factions. I'm just going to take a look at what this is. So as you can see, this is going to turn this hero into the blue faction at the end of the game, which is not good for me. Now, the other type of corruption token you'll see is the protect/sacrifice token. If in my party, I wanted to protect these green heroes, and an ability would require me to discard or bury a green hero, if I have a sacrifice corruption token on a different hero, I could sacrifice them instead, saving the other hero. Any heroes who still have the protect/sacrifice corruption token on them at the end of the game will count towards the Guardian faction if you have that module in play.
Now, we do want to note some of the rules changes for the corruption module are very recent, so things may be even more streamlined in the final copy.
And lastly, we have the artifacts module.
During setup, each player is going to get one of these artifact cards, and they're going to have a varying amount of times you can use them.
At the start of the game, players place their artifact face up next to their face down leader card, as well as one artifact token for each symbol in the top left-hand corner. So my 2-shot crossbow has 2 artifact tokens, which means I can use this ability twice during the game.
And I have the endless bag of seeds, which can be used 3 times throughout the game.
Now, artifacts with a lightning bolt symbol, just like in my 2-shot crossbow over here, can be used at any point during step 1 of my turn, which is basically playing a card. So I can use my ability, which says to bury any one hidden or face-up hero card, before or after I play a card.
Artifact cards with the hourglass symbol can only be performed on my turn at the end of the 4th step, which would be when we refill the tavern. This particular one allows me to either draw a card from the tavern or from the graveyard.
And unlike my crossbow, you can do this 3 times during the entire game.
Yeah, so if you crossbowed something I really wanted, you sent them to the graveyard, then maybe on my turn I can counteract it and get them back out from the graveyard.
That is true.
Yeah.
And each time you use your artifact, you discard an artifact token back to the supply to keep track of how many times you've used it. And that's essentially how you can incorporate the artifacts module in with the base game. For those who have the mini expansion called Queens and Friends, there are also further rules adjustments that can be made to make the artifacts module more exciting. For these rules, as well as any additional information regarding the expansion, we encourage you to follow the link to the Kickstarter down below.
And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you all so much for watching the video. We hope it was helpful. If you'd like to see more like this in the future, please consider subscribing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.